Welcome back, my fellow mobile gamers of YouTube. My name is NimbleThor, and today I'm gonna be sharing the most interesting mobile games I played last week in this episode 117 of my weekly mobile gaming recap series. And two of today's games are actually very unique as well, so if you're tired of playing the same old types of games, I think you're really gonna enjoy this episode, which includes a promising 1 vs 1 retro fighting game, a turn-based RPG dungeon crawler that is perfect for casual RPG fans, and a 2D hack-and-slash side-scroller. Now, as always, I hope you'll leave a like or subscribe if you're new around here and you enjoyed this video, and then let's dive into today's first game, Vita Fighters, which is a promising retro indie fighting game with 18 unique characters that draw inspiration from Dragon Ball, Naruto, and lots of other popular franchises. While the blocky art style of this game may not be to everyone's liking, the animations actually look great, and the core fighting system is incredibly well made, with lots of long combos and unique moves for each fighter that feel fantastic to pull off correctly. The game features an arcade single-player mode, but lacks any traditional career or campaign mode. But the good news is that a full-blown online multiplayer system is in development, according to the developer. And for now, the game can still be played via local same-device multiplayer if you connect two Bluetooth controllers. And although they can be modified via the settings, the touch controls in this game are somewhat mediocre, so playing with a controller, even if you're just playing single-player, is definitely strongly encouraged. Vita Fighter monetizes through incentivized video advertisements to get an extra life or some extra power when we die, but there are no forced ads and no in-app purchases at all. The game can be played offline, takes up 207 MB of space, and I think it's a promising indie game that could grow to become a staple of the fighting genre if it continues receiving updates. Next up is Order of Fate, not to be confused with Fate Grand Order, of course, which is a fun turn-based RPG dungeon crawler where we tap to move around procedurally generated dungeon floors full of enemies, loot, and quests while searching for the leader of an evil cult. As we descend the game's 75 dungeon floors, we encounter lots of traps and interesting enemies, many of which can use special abilities and even debuffs like poison, for example. So to deal with these increasingly stronger enemies, we have to constantly equip new gear and upgrade our own abilities every time we level up in this game. Now, to enter combat in this game, we simply have to move our character next to an enemy, and then we'll start automatically attacking with normal attacks, while we then use potions and trigger abilities manually. Before attacking though, we can also hold down on an enemy to inspect its stats and its attack patterns, so we can probably plan ahead, and this is something that becomes increasingly more important the further we progress in the game. The overall objective is to see how far we can get without dying, but we can leave the dungeon at any time and even get to keep our items and XP, but the goal is to get to the checkpoint at the end of every 5th dungeon floor so we can continue exactly where we left off when we eventually die and have to re-enter the dungeon. Now, when we succeed at reaching a checkpoint, we're taken back to our camp where we can then upgrade our items, we can craft potions, and even dismantle gear that we don't need anymore. The biggest downside is that this core gameplay loop does get a bit repetitive after a while, but to be fair, that is something that most dungeon crawler RPGs suffers from. On the bright side, the controls work well, and although the cartoony art style is very simple, it also feels nicely polished. Order of Fate monetizes through scarce incentivized video advertisements and then in-app purchases for a premium currency or gear packs. None of these are really necessary to progress and enjoy the game though, so the monetization really isn't that heavy. It can be played offline, takes up 265 MB of space, and since the game is less punishing than most traditional roguelike dungeon crawlers, Order of Fate is great for casual RPG fans. And now for one of the most unique games I played this week, called Earth Wars, and this is a 2D side-scrolling action game with a hack-and-slash retro-inspired combat system, mission-based progression, and a massive skill tree. Whenever we complete a mission in this game, we get a score that indicates how well we did, and achieving certain scores unlocks new combat skills in the game's elaborate skill tree system that allows us complete control over how to customize our character. And I know, when I say that this game's skill tree system is elaborate, you may be thinking, it can't be that big, NimbleThor, can it? But trust me, it can. I'm not kidding. This is one of the most elaborate systems I've ever seen in any RPG game. For example, just look at this. It even has skills that act as boosters that can be linked to any of our active skills to increase the strength of that active skill. So in a sense, we don't just get to pick which skills to use, but we also get to customize those skills. The game is fun and very challenging, but the first play experience and the tutorial of this game is so complex that it's very difficult to truly get into the game. Now, fortunately, after you've played a few missions, most of the systems will start to make sense, but you should be prepared to do some reading to fully understand everything this game has to offer. Now, the touch controls in this game work decently well, and it's a simple 2D side-scrolling game, so there isn't that much that can really go wrong, but it also supports Bluetooth controllers, which is always great. The main downside is that there are lots of small loading screens when moving between menus, which makes the game feel a bit clunky. Earth Wars is a free $3.99 premium game on iOS with no ads or in-app purchases, and on Android it's a free game that monetizes through ads and in-app purchases for a currency used to buy character skins and weapon upgrades. We do also earn this currency through gameplay though, and none of the in-app purchases are really necessary to enjoy the game, although buying any of the in-app purchases on Android will remove the advertisements. The game requires online access, takes up 725 megabytes of space, and if you're looking for a different type of 2D action game, this is definitely worth checking out, if you have the time to learn everything about it, that is. Thank you very much for sticking around till the end of this video, I really appreciate that. Now, do let me know what you thought about today's games in the comment section down below this video, and be sure to leave a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video. And then, until next time, just keep gaming, stay awesome, and I'll see you guys around. And this is one of the biggest things to spend time on in this mission, in this game. Crap. Earth Wars. So we can probably plan ahead. Properly plan ahead. Seriously. The touch controls of this